I do believe the right measures were put in place for safety for everyone, and ultimately for ourselves. Obviously, we're really happy as a club that we've been given the title as champions. I can completely sympathise with Man City and stuff, but I do believe we did deserve to win it, and I think the girls are more relieved now that there's been finally an outcome that's been sorted, and that we're not just waiting and waiting and waiting, because everyone's eager to get back. Everyone's eager to get back into the swing of things. So I think the sooner we got that outcome and we can start and plan going forward, when we're going to be starting back training, etc., was put a lot of girls' mind at ease, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there don't seem to have been many complaints really about Chelsea being awarded the title. I mean, you've done well in the head-to-heads against Arsenal and City. You were unbeaten. You had that game in hand. So I guess even though that call, maybe you're not all jumping for joy and celebrating the way you normally would be, but there's definitely a sense that you were very much worthy winners.
Yeah, of course. I mean, as you touched on, we were unbeaten in the league. We did well against the top teams, and I know it's easy for me to sit here and say it, but I do believe we deserve to win it. And even if we'd have continued the season, I still believe we would have gone on to have won it. I felt like the team were in a good place. We were good winning mentality. We weren't really dropping points anywhere. We were going from strength to strength. So I think ultimately that probably would have been the outcome. But yeah, I've spoke to a few of the girls, and obviously everyone's over the moon to have won the title. It's just a shame we couldn't celebrate as a team properly, and that we're over a Zoom call, but it were nice nonetheless to be able to share his feelings on it with everyone together, including the staff.
Yeah. You know what that means, Beth? It means the screamer you scored against City was technically the goal that clinched the title.
Oh, well, I'll take that. I'd have probably more said Marin's goal against City, because we won that game as opposed to drawing it. But yeah, I guess you could look at it like that. It was definitely a good game for the neutral. It had everything in that game, but yeah, obviously, as I've said, I'm really happy with it. It's bar the spring series, it's my first league title as well. So again, it's a shame I couldn't celebrate it properly with the team, but I'm sure we'll be able to sort something when everyone's back in.
Yeah. I spoke to Magda a couple of weeks ago, and she said she didn't particularly enjoy that game, but it was incredible fun to watch. Two great teams going at it.
Yeah, it was. I think it were a complete mix of array of emotions throughout that game. We went down, we went behind twice, then we went in front. Then we thought we were going to win. Then a few minutes later, they equalised, and it was just save penalty. It were absolute carnage. But like I said, it were definitely a good game for a neutral watching.
Yeah. Now, I've not seen many footballers score goals with their left foot and their right foot from the range that you have this season against City and against Spurs, of course, at Stamford Bridge. Is that something you've always practiced in training, or you've worked on particularly, or does it come naturally?
Yeah, ever since I was younger, I've always just learned to use both feet. I always try and use my left foot as much as possible to make it as close to my right foot, and I back myself when I use my left foot. I'm quite confident at shooting. I think most of my goals usually come from my left foot than my actual right foot. But yeah, I'm very confident with it, and I think it's shown this season that, like you say, look at Stamford Bridge goal, the away goal at Arsenal, again left footer. There's been a few good ones that I've hit nicely. And I think it's just a confidence thing. Like I say, I know I trust that foot. I know the ability I've got within using my, I guess you say, weaker foot. But I think even I was as shocked as most people at the way some of my goals have gone in this season. But yeah, no, it's been a really good year. And I'm proud of the way I've scored certain goals in big games.
Yeah, you mentioned confidence. I mean, it really does take quite a lot of belief to shoot from that distance as well. And is that just kind of one of the biggest signs of how well you're feeling in terms of the football you're playing, that you feel like you're playing the best football of your career right now?
Yeah, I mean, confidence is a big thing. Any player that's thriving off it. You see them perform better on the pitch, and it's a great set of girls to be playing with. And I think not only have I developed confidence in myself, but the team around me has developed confidence in my abilities as well, which is also a big boost when you're on the pitch, knowing that you can lead that team from the front, and that they can rely on you to show up when they need you. So it's been a very good year, I think, for me, and long may it continue, and hopefully come back just as strong next season.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a long journey to this point, a tough journey, and you're relatively, late bloomer to reach this level of performance, I'd say. So does that make you feel even hungrier now to maintain that, the fact that it's been so arduous to get here?
I mean, everyone's journey is different, and for me, it's always been a case of I just need, like you say, I probably am a bit of a late bloomer compared to most people, and I just needed that little bit more time. But finally, I got the opportunities, I've got the chance, I've proven what I'm capable of, and of course, I'm hungry to make sure I continue this form season after season. I think my main form's clearly started showing at Liverpool. I had a good season spell when I was on loan there, then coming back last year and being the highest scorer at the club, and then continuing it this year. I think it's just important to keep that momentum going and keep working on weaknesses and stuff that you can always improve. So I'm excited for what next year will bring, but I'll be definitely setting a lot more goals to even better than this year.
Yeah. You've said before that you struggled a bit with the adaptation when you first moved down to London, when you signed for Chelsea, on the pitch, off the pitch. All the little things that footballers face when they move cities and kind of up in their lifestyles. And was Paul Green a particular help to you, given that there's a kind of Doncaster Bells connection there? Was he able to help you settle a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Paul a very long time. Like say, I think it's coming up to probably 10 years now, since I've had a good relationship with Paul, and he definitely made it easier. He's always backed my corner. I think I ended up mainly going to Chelsea on the onus of Paul, knowing me as a person and a player, and he always backed my corner. And even when I went on loan, he always made me feel secure in the fact that it wasn't a short-term thing, and that he knew I just needed that little bit more time to get to where I needed to be. And thankfully, it all worked out and fell into place. But yeah, I've got a really good relationship with Paul, and it's been nice to have him on this journey with me whilst I've been at Chelsea.
Yeah, and you said you were a bit worried when you were loaned out to Liverpool before, that you were, a lot of the players that leave Chelsea on loan don't necessarily come back to be important players in the team. So he was a key part of convincing you that wasn't the case, that there was a long-term plan for you.
Yeah, like you say, I don't think anyone that has gone on loan from Chelsea has come back. I think I'm the only player. So for me, it were a testament. For when I went away on loan, I had to tell myself I'm going to show them what I am capable of, and thankfully Liverpool gave me the opportunity and chance to show that. And Paul, I was in regular contact with him throughout the season, and he was happy with the way in which I was performing there. So it was, as he put it, a no-brainer for me to bring back. So it was always nice knowing that they wanted me to come back in the end.
Yeah, and you'd even played wing back during the spring series for Chelsea, which I know you said you didn't particularly enjoy. But looking back on it now, did that help you in any way in terms of the position you're playing now? Like maybe having a better sense of when someone is out wide, when they're going to cross the ball, or different areas to attack. Has that helped you in any way playing up front again?
I think wherever you play on the pitch is always going to give you experience in that role, because there's been times when even last year when I came back as a forward that I ended up filling in out wide a little more, and you kind of learn. It don't only help you learn the role, it helps you learn the role that others play in the team. So as you touched on, knowing certain places, runs you expect forwards to make for the cross, or what types of cross people want, etc. I wouldn't say I hated it when I played wing back, but it was a lot of work, and I think obviously, as I said, I'm very confident in using my left foot. One of the reasons I did get put there is because Emma and Paul trusted me with being able to cross on my left side, which we didn't really have much of a left-footed player at the time when I was used there. So again, that's probably even helped me in that respect of being able to work on my left foot for a while with that as well. So I think every position that you play in ultimately helps you to where you need to be. But I think it was better that I finally solidified a position that I could play in order to really take off and improve in that area.
Yeah, it felt like the Liverpool loan was a real turning point for you, gave you some real momentum. But you've said before that you did struggle for confidence in the early going there, partly I guess because Chelsea had loaned you out. But and I know you said as well that you saw a psychologist as well, didn't you? While you were at Liverpool, who helped you kind of change your mindset. What were the main things that changed for you in that year, do you think?
Yeah, I think obviously, I mean, anyone I've spoken to, when I first found out I was going to go on loan, we was on pre-season tour in Austria, and I remember our liaison officer, Karen Bray, was sat with me whilst I was having the conversation with them, and I just broke down. I thought that was going to be the end of my Chelsea run sort of thing, and it took a lot for me to kind of get out that headspace of thinking I wasn't good enough and that I'd failed in a sense. But yeah, it were a lot of new changes again for me going up to Liverpool, new team. I'd missed most of their pre-season, so trying to fit in straight away and get into the rhythm of playing with them on a pitch was quite difficult. But I think once I'd seen, it was my agent that helped me get in contact with a psychologist called Everton Brown, and he was an amazing guy, and he helped me a lot whilst I was at Liverpool in realising the things that I don't need to hold on to, and that it is all right to make mistakes, but you can move past them and you can do things in different ways. And I think that were a big turning point for me when I started seeing Everton. It sounds weird saying Everton, but because obviously it's up in Liverpool, but that is his name. But yeah, when I started seeing him, he slowly started helping me find that confidence within myself. And I think it took me until just before Christmas for me to score my first goal when I were at Liverpool. So it took me a while to find my feet, but once that first goal went in, it were kind of like there was no looking back. And as I continued to see him throughout the season, again, my confidence at Liverpool grew, and I think I ended up coming out with like 14 goals that season there. And then I saw him again just before I came back down to Chelsea, about obviously a few worries and that I may have had. And yeah, whenever I need him, he's always there to chat to on the phone, or if I go up to see him. So I think he was a massive part of my mentality shift that was able to help me alongside my agent and my family, obviously being good support. And even, like you said, knowing that contact I had with Paul, knowing that they did want me back, was a big thing, because it kind of took the pressure off thinking I had to impress people all the time and things like that.
Yeah, it feels like football as a whole has had a real kind of growing awareness of just the value of kind of like sports psychology and the whole mental approach to the game, and how much of a difference that can make to performance. Do you think, looking back now, that was pretty much the only thing that was keeping you from doing what you're doing now? It wasn't really anything technically or tactically. It was more just the way you were you maybe just too much in your own head about certain things?
Yeah, 100%. I think I've always had the ability. The ability's always been there, and I think that's one of the reasons why Chelsea took me on board in the first place. They knew what I was capable of. It was just a case of how do we get that out of her. And I think the best way they got it out of me was actually putting me on loan to get game time and figure my own self-worth out somewhere else before I went back. And I think I was always someone I've always have been someone that's very hard on myself and very critical, a bit of a perfectionist, as some people say. But I think the best thing that I could have learnt was to not necessarily not care as much, but let things go a little bit easier and give myself more of a break when certain things aren't going how I'd expect them to go and stuff. So I definitely would say if there was one thing holding me back, it would have been my mentality towards things at the start, which I've definitely been able to get on top of. And I guess it's a part of growing up as well. I was able to grow up with it alongside getting experience. So I think that definitely was a big part of it for me.
Yeah, and last season was a really big breakthrough for you with 22 goals. And did you feel did you feel different back at Chelsea from day one? Did it feel like right now this is kind of where my Chelsea career kind of properly begins now?
Yeah, I do. I think because the first time I went to Chelsea, I was kind of like a little fish in a big pond, and I felt like I had to prove myself to all the big players that were there at the time. Whereas when I came back the second time, it was more like I've already proved myself. I don't need to overcompensate or overdo anything to get anyone's respect. I think I'd already earned people's respect from being on loan, and it was more like I could walk up with my shoulders held a little bit higher with that confidence, knowing that I was able to perform better and believe in myself a bit more ultimately.
Yeah, and that's the kind of mindset you need, especially at a club like Chelsea, isn't it? Where there are always players coming in, they're always being ambitious in terms of recruiting to strengthen the squad. And you had Sam Kerr coming in the middle of this season, and of course you and her have formed a fantastic partnership. Um, how how did it feel when you first heard that she was coming in? Were you worried at all, or did you have conversations with Emma and Paul about what the plan was?
It's a question I get asked a lot actually, and I wouldn't necessarily say I was worried with Sam coming in because I was in good form. I had a good first half of the season, and ultimately we're at a team where we're going to get the best players and we want to win. And I felt Sam coming in was going to be a really strong point for us, especially going forward, aiming towards Champions League, etc. And it's just another, I guess, challenge for me to better myself even more, because I think if you would have been speaking to the Beth a few years ago before a loan, she would have crumbled, and you would have seen a completely different side. Whereas now I'm at a stage where I don't need to fear someone coming in. It's just another way of, I guess, a challenge of, okay, you're coming in, you're the best striker in the world, but you're at Chelsea now, and let's see what you can do. And I loved playing with Sam from the minute she joined the team. She's such a lovely girl, and as you said, we've got a great partnership going on the pitch at the minute, and it's something that I love, and I'm sure going forward it's going to be a big thing helping us going further in the Champions League especially. So I'm excited for how much further it can go. Obviously Sam's not been able to have too much game time with us at the minute, obviously joining halfway through and then the season getting cut short, but I'm definitely excited to see where it'll go next season.
Yeah, I mean, you've already been working really well together, even in the big games, despite the fact, like you said, she hasn't had a ton of game time yet. So, do you feel like there's real untapped potential there as well to grow that as you get to know each other's games even better? That next season there are maybe more levels you can go to as a partnership.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like you say, I think certain things need time, and I think I really felt for Sam because coming off being nominated the best player in the world into a new country, a new league, new players, everything's new. I think there was a lot of pressure on her shoulders to score that first goal. So when she finally did score that goal at Arsenal, I think for her it was a weight lifted. But I don't feel like she had enough time to show what she's capable of. So I'm more than sure that next season, given more time, we'll be able to make that partnership even stronger, and really start to show people what damage and threat we can cause from that attacking line. And obviously we've got Fran coming back as well, which is another threat that people haven't seen a great deal of due to her illness and stuff. So I think a lot of people will be fearing us next season with the strike force that they'll have coming up against us.
Yeah, it kind of struck me watching the City game where it was, you, Sam, Guro as well, and Erin. It was just this really formidable, almost a front four a lot of the time. And you said now you're at a stage where you're not fearing any players that come in, that they're, you're confident enough in your ability that they're going to maybe be there to help you, as opposed to, just compete with you. And from that mindset, it must be really, really nice to just think, every season I play for Chelsea now, I'm going to have even better players around me, and the service is going to keep getting better and better in terms of my chances.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big believer in you work for what you get, and I don't think any place is a given, especially like you say, you look at the depth and calibre of players we've got in our team. You can't just say for a certain that you're going to play. You have to show up every day, work just as hard, and prove why you should be in that starting 11. I don't think it's a given, and Emma makes that very clear. But yeah, I think it's just an exciting time, I think, for everyone coming to the club, because there's so much competition, but you also know that you will get the quality on the pitch. So when you are needing certain balls put in place for your role, the way you kind of get used to how people play. Like for us, Guru, we know she can whip a ball in like no other. Erin, she's more of a 1v1 player. She'll try and take them on. You get to know people's traits and attributes and what their strengths are, and the quicker you learn that, the easier it is to feed off as a striker, because you know what they expect from you and where they expect you to be for them. And I think next season, again, yeah, obviously having Sam and Fran back, you're going to see a lot more from us.
Yeah, and I was reading in an interview that, some really nice quotes from Emma Hayes about you, that she loves your story in part because you've had to work so hard for it, and you've had to really dig deep to reach the level you're at now. And how much how much of an impact has she had on your career? Because the whole image we have of Emma is she's this super charismatic leader. She's built a great winning culture at Chelsea. But for you personally, what sort of impact has she had on you?
It's probably the biggest impact that anyone's really had on me. I think I'm sure Emma won't mind me saying this, because we've had many discussions about it. She was very, very hard on me when I was at Chelsea, and she still is. She still pushes me, and I think that was one of the reasons why I did struggle, because I was coming into this sort of adult world of football at Chelsea, being given a lot of not necessarily pressure, but there was a lot of demands expected. And I think in a way, her being so hard on me and sending me on loan and things like that helped me grow up quicker and learn to value myself more. And I know she's not shy in saying she was hard on me for a reason, and like I say, she still is. Even this season, she pulled me in the office and be honest when she felt like she needed to speak to me and things like that. And she knows I'll always give everything. I'm not a player that's complacent. I'm very hardworking and stuff. And yeah, I think she definitely helped me grow up a lot in terms of, one, learning to value myself and how I react to certain situations and not let my emotions overcome my abilities. So for me, she's been a huge part. I guess at the start I probably saw it as a huge negative, but as time's gone on, it's kind of reaped into a positive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely does.
So I think, again, it was just that mindset of needing to grow up a little and realise you're being pushed for the right reasons and not the wrong ones.
Yeah, and just finally, I mean, you said you think teams will have every reason to really fear Chelsea next year, with, you've got Melanie Leopold's coming in as well to bolster your squad, and the FA Cup could be rolled over, so there's a possibility that the treble could be on, and of course you'll be back in the Champions League, where we know that's Emma's big aim. That's the big kind of carrot in front of all of you. How much do you feel like I just want next season to start right now, because there's so much there for you, isn't it, in terms of going to the next level of trophies and succeeding as a team?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's very eager to get back on the pitch. I know I am. I know it's gonna again be a change, having to get used to some new players coming in, some players leaving, etc. That's just the way it goes. But it's an exciting year to think that the FA Cup could be rolled over and that we could potentially do treble, which would be unbelievable. Going into then, we did so well the season before, nearly getting to that Champions League final, and I truly believe that we have got such a strong winning team that I'd like to think that next year is going to be the year that we do it, and fingers crossed, because I believe in this team a lot. I love playing for the team, and as you said, we're going from strength to strength, the players that Emma's bringing in and stuff. So I really do think teams are going to fear us, and I'm just excited to see where it's going to go. And obviously, having the good depth in squad that we've got, it will always keep teams guessing on what team she's going to put out and who she's going to play.